Hey, so for the next 5 weeks, I thought what I would touch on is each of the different independent letters in waves and how this pertains overall to how I think people should be talking about and thinking about content whenever they think about things for their own business. Because I really think that a lot of people miss this whenever they think about the broader way that things might work or might play out with regards to their business. And unfortunately, unless you got a lot of these pieces in place, it won't benefit your business. Also, though, once you build this as a system, it's there. And that's one of the foundations that I strongly believe in that I just don't think a lot of people get, right? I think when people think about what you have to do, it's like all these independent things, and I've got to keep all these plates spinning at the same time. No, build it once. In the age of AI, we can leverage all this stuff over and over again. And that's one of the greatest benefits I feel like that we have is that automations, or you can vibe code tools, or you can build things into your business so that you don't have to build it again. I think that's the real opportunity here is that over the past few weeks, I've been talking about brand identity and ICP and things like that. I think whenever you think about setting up your ICP, one of the things everybody should consider is how do I make sure that I stand out in the age of AI of all things so that my business stands out and really continues to perform for me and shows that I'm unique. Because if you look like everybody else and you sound like everybody else because of maybe not doing some of these things with your brand identity and your ICP and your market positioning and things like that. I'm going to show some actual examples in this as well, because I feel like, again, like the theory is good, but the practice is better. Let's talk about this top block to start, right? So if you have your market positioning, your ICP and your brand identity down really well, you know exactly who all of those elements are. What you then can do is set up a tool or system so that it reads this frequently. An example that I've used recently is Claude Cowork. So in Cowork, you can say, hey, look, I want you on a daily basis to give me 2 posts, one that is for my ICP and one that shows what my ICP should not be. The examples that I have for E3, look, we target SMBs, small to mid-sized businesses, but we also have this sort of consultant group as well. What are we not? We don't do campaigns. We're not the one-off run agency that you might run into. So if that's what you're looking for, don't come to us. And I get the idea that people might say, but you're limiting yourself. No, I've learned that over time that transactional people that are coming in looking for a short campaign, or people looking for just a website or whatever, they're not a very good fit for us. And so if that's what you're looking for, it's just not a very good fit. It's good to say, hey, look, this is what I like or what I have to have, and this is what I don't want to have. Now, you need to have some sort of a website. I was on a call with somebody earlier today, and we were talking about them because they've got a franchise group that they have to work with. So we're talking about how do we help them separate from some of it, but also keep in mind the brand as well, right? So there's another aspect to this, and we can't just charge forward. We have to be careful and make sure that we've got both aspects in mind as we go forward. One, because we certainly don't want to upset the bigger brand. That's not the goal. But we also want to say that this person is unique, has unique skills, has a unique offering, can really do some great work. So those two things in mind have to come together in what gets shown in their home base. Whatever the home base is, it has to get shown. So that's kind of what we're working through right now, is how do we do that in a way that's respectful to the brand, but also lets this individual be a unique individual. The other thing I would say in terms of social proof and trust and things like that, because I've been in this position before where somebody will say, I only want you to market the company. Don't market me as an individual. And it can be done, but the reality is we're the most successful when individuals step up and are part of the bigger picture. So that's the social proof part of it, because people trust people. People don't necessarily trust the business, right? You could think of this idea of larger brands or whatever, but think about the amount of time and effort that's put into that and how many people as a collective have to say, yes, I know and trust this individual. Where if you're somebody that is an individual, it's pretty easy for me to look at you in the eye and go, I know and trust this person, versus whenever I look at your logo on your website and saying, hey, look, I know and trust this. I think that's the other part of this. The other area inside of this blue box that I would point to as well is the conversion path. And I heard one of the most brilliant things this last week that I know I'm going to tie in for all of my clients as well. And it's this idea of we typically don't have one conversion path. So we normally have, look, there's this thing that I want you to engage with because maybe it's an early stage lead magnet. Maybe I have a middle stage offering and it's something that I know I have, let's say with the communities I have, right? So I have a free community and then I have a lower tiered offering in the paid community. And the whole idea is, look, if you want to get involved and you want more coaching and you want more engagement and you want a bigger peer group, there's a way to do that. And that comes with an actual payment. So it's not a free thing anymore. And so having these multiple conversion paths, I've seen prove out in my own business, but also I could see how this could play out in others' businesses as well. Then you need to have, what is your content strategy? How do you actually get out in front of people? What are you doing to put out content so that people can find you and know and trust you and better understand what it is that you offer at the end of the day? Because the better we do understand these things, it is important that we have that sort of clarity in place, because then that way people can see things that we do and from that really understand how to engage with things. So whenever we think about content, again, like through doing all of the stuff that I do and putting out the different levels of content that I have myself, in addition to all the stuff that we do for clients, I get a chance to watch lots and lots of opportunities like this. And I see several things. One is when we're consistently posting with AI content along the way, and then all of a sudden somebody posts something that is big news for them, we are seeing larger spikes on no matter what platform it is. We do see that when people post real things, not AI written things, or let's just say AI may be enhanced, but not necessarily AI fully written start to finish, we're seeing those posts take off. Also, if somebody creates a video and somebody goes through the work of putting out real content where it's real value to people, that then again takes off. And what I would also say is that you still have to have the different levels of content, right? You still have to have top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel level of content. So when we look at the content overall, it needs to be in these different areas, right? So you've got top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel areas. So we go through the content and we say, hey, look, there's a level of attraction that we need to have. There's a level of education and proof that we need to make. And then lastly, what are the proof elements that we can have, the tailored solution discussions, the final decision things, and getting people to that level of making some level of an irreplaceable offer. And the way that I think about this is that you have to, along the way, be checking different boxes, right? There's a pro proof elements of the things you have to say, and then there's the anti or counter proof things that you need to say as well. And whenever I think about the way that this plays out, it's like, look, who do you help falls in that pro proof element, right? I'm saying, hey, these are my ideal clients. This is the problem deep dive that I have at the middle of the funnel. And then here's the tailored solution at the bottom of the funnel. You also, though, along the way, need to be telling people what is it that you reject. Because if you're not clarifying this, then you're missing a key part of the point. I think one of the elements, and it's funny because I was working on something earlier today, and one of the things that came up in the AI discussion that I was having was, in addition to the elements that you need to provide on the proof side, on the positive side, you also need to be considering what are the things that tick off the boxes for people and say, look, here's the reason why you might want to think about this in terms of the alternatives, right? So all of us do this over and over again, but the challenge becomes that we oftentimes don't spend time thinking about what are these things that we have to debunk along the way. What are the things that we have to tick off the list for somebody that they're going to naturally think about? They're going to think about them anyway. And so you might as well offer them up as something that you're just saying, hey, look, here are the things that you might want to consider as well in this. And then, like down here in the final decision or offer, how do you help them get over anybody else that's coming across as generic. And so I think, especially now, there's a good opportunity to do this. A lot of my branding partners discussions that I have anymore is you could use AI for a lot of this stuff, but the reality is there's a bias that kind of comes across by using this and not understanding how to get and challenge the tools so that you get the right answer, right? That part is unfortunate because I feel like it can lead a lot of people in the wrong path. But it's also something that I think we should be calling out. It's something that all of us could be saying there's an opportunity for you to think about this as you go through this, that there are going to be lots of people that are going to have less specific answers for you. And the reason why is because they haven't gone through and challenged some of the thinking and ideas. And there's an opportunity or a challenge that you might want to consider for your own business. And then lastly, what are those things that only you can say? My sort of things that I frequently talk about, right? Worked for GE for 18 years, including lots of turnaround organizations that were in a position of not being set up well for success. There's nobody else that's out there that has that same level of experience that I have. And in terms of running a digital marketing agency, it's the same thing. It's, look, I took that operations experience and decided I would turn it into something that is a unique angle for this business. It is something that only we can say that, hey, look, the reason why we're different is because we look at stuff and we measure it. We look at the way that things are performing or not performing, and we will admit whenever things are not performing, and we'll also tell people what the plan is that we're going to do next, how we're going to move things forward. And so I think that is a real opportunity for anybody, is to say, here's how we're unique and how we stand out overall. What is your unique brand signature? What are the proprietary methodologies and things like that? Again, I said I would bring up some examples in a minute. And you're going to see a very good example of this very thing in the examples that I share, because I don't think there's anybody else that's out there that said, hey, they actually went into writing and said, this is how we do it. And then lastly, in terms of your irreplaceable offer, and I frequently hear this from people, clients and people in the marketing industry, that there's nobody else that has the tools and capabilities that we have. I think that our approach in this, again, is what makes this a unique opportunity for my business in general. So when you're thinking about this and how you're positioning your content strategy and your traffic acquisition strategy, to come back to this again, is that you need to be thinking about what are the posts that you're going to have, not only that are at top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, or bottom of the funnel, but you need to be talking about who do you help, what do you reject, and what only you can say. By separating yourself this way, you are painting a picture for people in terms of how your business is unique, how it solves a problem. And so that's the real opportunity here. So let me come back and share just a couple of examples. We have this tool called Content Path. And the way that this came about was people were telling me that they understood that a lot of the activity that we had helped them to generate traffic for their business, right? So what they noticed was that the metrics would go up. This is the typical digital marketing thing where, hey, look, I get you on a call and I show you, hey, look, we posted 100 times in the last month. And oh, by the way, you also got X amount of additional traffic this month. So there's very metrics driven. Again, I've said this before that we're a metrics driven agency. We look at the performance of our clients very seriously. But people would say, I get that part of it. What I don't get is how do I take that then and turn it into something? So the way that I liken this story again was to say, hey, look, if we built a tool for people where they could see what it was that we were going to do, right? So digital visibility is all about content creation and authority, right? So how do I get you that level of performance on your website, start building some social media posts for you, start doing some of the things that actually get you a level of activity on your site that you can actually benefit from. And then from that, what happens overall is that I want you to understand that there is a real path to this, right? So the way that this plays out is that I want people to understand that I want you to go from visibility and content creation. When people go from there, I want you to also be building your own network, right? I want you to use tools to build your network. I want you to be thinking about how do you connect in real life with people, because the more that you do this and the more that you understand how to connect with people in real life, the better it'll be that, hey, look, that traffic or website traffic or content traffic, whichever, plays out and turns into real opportunities for you, right? But it's not going to happen without some sort of connection. There are plenty of people who come to me that think that there's a magic pill or bean or magic wand or something that I can give them that then turns them into client generating people. But that's not how this works, right? You have to go through and build a network, then you got to build a relationship with your people. Then we want to get them off of whatever social media platform that they're on. And then once they're there, we want to have a live connection with them. We want to Zoom. I want to turn this into something. And then pipeline management. Then I had people tell me that I get that you want us to use Sales Navigator for part of this and that I want folks to grow their network. So because of that challenge, we built in targeting into this to make it easier so that this tool now will write your own Sales Navigator queries. This targeting tool, and this is my demo account. So if I come into here and I say, look, I put in my ICP, I put in my brand, I let the tool do some research, it then creates the Sales Navigator query. You could see that's where it's setting right now. So as it goes through this, you could see it's got different people that might fit my particular brand. I want it to go out and come up with whatever my query might be. Then I move through. This isn't much different than Sales Navigator is. It's still asking like how many people normally are in this company or how many people should I target. If I need help, I can ask the agent. I can come in here and I can say, hey, look, I want it to be 11 to 50 or whatever, and then select that. Over here, let's say I don't want all these countries in there. I only want the United States maybe for my business, right? I don't want Sweden, Switzerland, Denmark, Australia, New Zealand. So there, I've eliminated those. And then I go to next. And then now it's going to ask me revenue numbers. Let's just say, hey, look, it's 1 to 10. And then I kind of move that forward. If you want to focus in on hiring and things like that, again, these are elements that are in Sales Navigator, but rather than presenting it as a large user interface, I've tried to make this tool really straightforward. And so then now we're down to the point of we could say, hey, look, I want to save this for later if you want to actually save it. Or if I just want to open it in Sales Navigator, I can hop over there and start using it inside of Sales Navigator. You can see here 1 million to 10 million, 11 to 50 people, all these different companies just in the United States. So it's gone through and created that search for me automatically. Having these methodologies or having this way of doing things is part of that unique selling signature. It's a part of the uniqueness of any particular company. And I would say by being able to describe those things for your people, you're saying, hey, look, here's the social proof and the trust. Here's the content strategy. My traffic acquisition strategy is one where I use different modes, video, and then also I've got written things that people can grab, and then I've got the social posts that go out every single day. By having these different elements, then it's lots of different methods to try and get people to understand and know and trust me for the things that all center around this web presence and foundation element, right? So that's what this portion is all about. And it comes back to what we were talking about over here, that if I want you overall to understand my brand signature, this is how I do that. If I want you to understand that I'm not like other agencies, I need to talk about the fact that I'm not like other agencies. And by doing all of these things over and over again, eventually you're connecting with people at different levels to be able to do that. In addition to the content tool that I showed you, we have other tools that people can use whenever they're working with us, and other tools that we actually use just with our clients. One example of one of these tools that I frequently talk about is the social planner inside of Go High Level. We've been testing posts recently. That's why you see all these draft posts up here. But essentially, we have these social posts that go out for people, and we're building a tool around this idea that we want social posts to go out lots of different ways. We want them to go out with the brand identity as well, any sort of logos and things like that for people. We also want the writing in the post to match the way that the person speaks, so their voice, along with any sort of additional brand elements included in the post. And then down here at the bottom, we want a follow-up post that in one way or another relates to the post, so that hopefully we could start to overcome some of these challenges with different social media platforms, let's say filtering comments because they're too generic. And so we're building tools around this so that people can see that there are posts that go out frequently that match their tone, their brand, and essentially sound and look like them, but in reality, they're not having to spend a ton of time. There also needs to be a lot of variety anymore. And this is something that I've told the team as well. It has to be included in the planning for the tool. We have to plan for the fact that there needs to be tweet pic posts and picture posts and sometimes infographics and sometimes people holding signs that say, hey, look, pay attention to my newest, greatest thing. That is an AI image with their likeness. And with that, we're building tools that I just don't see anywhere else. I was telling somebody this again earlier today that, look, I've seen a lot of different capabilities that people have, but this is not a tool set that I've seen that anybody else has. A similar sort of example of that is our content writer. We have a tool called Content Writer. It's an SEO writing tool. Essentially, what this does is it takes and does a bunch of mapping using SEO tools to say, okay, here's what's on your website. Here are the keywords that should be built on your website in terms of articles. And then we plan out articles to be able to have different things that are arriving on your website. How to leverage digital marketing for pharma industry growth is an example of a pillar article for my website. I can come in here and I could sell it. Look, I want this article to go out today. I want it to be a long form article, 5,000 words. I can approve this article, and then it's going to go off and write the article. Again, not a tool that I see anywhere else. Yes, there are SEO writers. This is a level of tool that comes up with a content strategy that we continue then, and we can monitor the performance of those articles month over month. And this is just not something, again, that I see anywhere else. On the simpler side, this is a little bit more lead magnet-y kind of example. Let's say that you create videos and you can put those videos on YouTube, but here's the challenge. This is the same thing with school communities as well. I could put things on YouTube, but what happens with that traffic afterwards, I want them to come to my website. And you've seen these standalone web pages before, so I'll show you this one. It was one of the examples of a video that I had before. You turn your website traffic into a qualified pipeline, and how to do that, and essentially making sure that you're fixing pain as a part of the pipeline is what this is all about. And then one of the things whenever you click into this page that you're able to do as well is to really be able to get down to a level of offering to these people. Whenever you do this, I can track exactly what it is that somebody did after they clicked on the button and they filled in the form that was on there. And all you got to do is provide your email address, and then it puts you back on a page like this one, where this is the YouTube videos. You could see the ability to go out to there. I can offer some additional items for people here, and then I can get people to move over to a lead magnet of some sort. I could say, hey, look, are you ready to take the next step? Connect with other professionals implementing these AI first kind of workflows. And then all they got to do is click the button here and they'll go over to the school community. This is where this brings them. But again, these sort of capabilities or tools are something that's unique for my brand. How you do that in your world is something that I will leave you with this session, but it's one of those things that I really think everybody needs to be thinking about. How do you move people through a pipeline? How do you get them from this sort of upper level phase where you got your brand identity, your ideal customer profile, and your market positioning all locked in? You know who you're targeting. You've got your website, that's your home base, that's where you want people to go. But then once we get the social proof, what we really need to have then is what are those things that start directing people back out to your website? What are those conversion paths? How do I get them back to the website? The content strategy that you have, how do you get them to the website? But then after that, you want them to take some conversion path from here and move forward. You want there to be a next step. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't think through is how do I establish the foundation, build a web presence, and build a growth engine that then enables all of this to come together. And that I think is the real opportunity for today. So the things I'm going to leave you with here is there's a document that will go along with this post that I will put up as well so that people can follow along. It'll have the different pictures that I've used in this. It'll have the marketing strategy grid that was over here on the iPad. It will also have the web presence and foundation sort of area. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would ask you to just come join us on Content and Conversion. It's free. And every Tuesday I go live. That's when I'm recording this. And it's an opportunity for anybody to get in and start talking about these things. The acronym and system that I'm talking about is WAVES. I'm going to be going through that process over the next few weeks. Right now we're on the W in WAVES. And as we go through the acronym, the opportunity here is start using these weeks to build these things that maybe you don't have for your business. Where I started this discussion was you don't have to build this all at once. And that's the part that I think a lot of people struggle with is, man, this looks like a lot. It is a lot, but there's a 30-day sprint that we do with our customers where you do all of the initial pieces to get those elements in place. And then we start building with you from there, right? So we do this in a very short period of time with clients. And the whole reason why is because we want people to get a win. We want people to start seeing real movement in their pipeline. And the way to do that is just go, hey, look, guys, we got to go develop your brand identity. Let's talk about what that is. Let's talk about your ideal client profile. Let's talk about where things play out in terms of the things that you stand for, but also the things that you're against. By doing that, we're building all of these elements. And then whenever we walk away in 30 days, a good portion of the system is in place so that then we could just carry on from there with people. For me, it's a real opportunity, I think, for everybody to look at these next few weeks is, hey, you know what? This week I'm going to focus on web presence. By the time I get to Tuesday next week, I'm going to be able to move on to authority with Don, and we're going to check off some additional things as well in the system. And so I hope this video has helped you. If it has, please make sure you let me know in the comments. And if there are key questions that you have, please let me know that as well. I look forward to seeing you in the school community. Thanks.